Citadel Society, Song of Stratos, written, illustrated, and narrated by Joel Armour. Chapter 1, Departure. Adjusting travel protocol for a 1500-year jump. Are you going back to planet N-22, Dad? Yes, Stratos. This time we'll observe the planet 1500 years into the future. Ivoli replied. So far, we've seen some of the surface stabilize, with the star's radiation becoming a bit more stable. Lena chimed in. We're expecting the most change in life forms during this stabilization period. Already we've seen some developing life forms in the less harsh habitats. Can I come with you, Dad? Teen Stratos asked. I'm sorry, son, but we won't be using our physical bodies, so as not to leave a biological footprint on the new planet. After you reach 18, you are welcome to choose for yourself whether or not to upload your mind into the server. Come on, that's 5 years away, Stratos complained. His mother, Lena, walked over and placed her hand on Stratos' shoulder. I promise, we'll travel back and make up for any lost time, son. Suddenly, one of Uni's optical hard drives emitted an electromagnetic aura around it, becoming a graphical interface. A small rectangular holographic window on the surface of the orb enlarged. Uni was on this rectangular screen. Stratos, he interjected. You can watch the new planet through my eye system. Lena replied. That's right. We're going to have to replace the one we left there, since it'll be 1500 years into the future. We'll dial in the timecode frequency and connect it to the Citadel server, so you guys can stream it live from the future. What do you say, brother? Uni asked. Stratos simply shrugged his shoulders. He was clearly disappointed that he wasn't allowed to come along. The parents said their goodbyes and retired their bodies into their conservation pods, uploading their minds and donning holographic bodies. Stratos, maybe you can help me, Uni asked his brother. About that consciousness of yours from the future. Oh, the Skyfather? Right, that guy. Initially, they could only summon him with the Uni Eye. What's the connection? I'm really not sure, Stratos replied. Uni reassured him. Stratos, I'd be honored to have you be a fellow administrator for my eye system. Really? From what we've seen, the future depends on you. The young teen paused for a moment. No, Uni, the future is depending on us. I won't let you down. Uni replied. Neither will I, brother. Chapter 2, Life. Planet N-022, 1500 years into the future. Lena stood in holographic form in a lush tropical rainforest, green with vegetation. This is such a different place than it was 1500 years ago. Back when Ivoli and Lena first visited 1500 years earlier, the planet was a steamy bog, teeming with radiation. Standing around her were massive trees, some over 100 feet tall. Look at these trees, Lena exclaimed. Ivoli stood quite a distance away, scanning the water of a nearby pond. Yes, it definitely has. The planet's bounteous production of thick vegetation seemed to have changed the quality of the air substantially. It's as if the planet is alive and knew that it needed massive air purification. It is alive, Lena responded. Ivoli laughed. He raised his head and closed his eyes in euphoria. I wouldn't be surprised if this was perfectly breathable air. Then why don't we? Lena asked. If we arrived after the developmental stage of this planet, Our ecological footprints might not be significant enough to affect the environment or biological ecosystems. I'm just not sure, Lena. I mean, how can we know if the biological ecosystems are fully formed? It's only been a little over 1500 years, Ively replied. Yeah, Lena admitted. That's really not much time. Well, let's run all the tests then, and we'll review the data when we get back. If everything is stable, then we have nothing to worry about. Initiating energy shroud. Ively observed the energy patterns of the planet in holographic form. He noticed the high geothermal energy readings from underground. The energy was taken up by the plants and trees, and then was changed and distributed through the leaves into the air. The tiny, non-plant organisms fed off of the plants and each other. It was a cycle, and the plants were the key to the entire ecology. Ively, you may want to check this out. Young Stratos watched in through the uni eye as his parents explored the planet. What the? He thought to himself as he witnessed what his parents saw for the first time. Ively ran over to Lena. They stood in front of a large plant. The stem of the plant was 4 feet tall and about a quarter of a foot wide. It had long vine-like branches that seemed to wrap around the surrounding trees. It also had very long, thin roots, some of which were at least a quarter of a foot above ground. I've never seen anything like this, Ively exclaimed. The plant seemed to move as he spoke. It can hear me? He asked in shock. This is incredible. Maybe it's like a Venus flytrap, Lena exclaimed. The plant moved again. Its vine branches reached toward Ively and Lena, passing right through their holographic bodies. It's as if they can see us, Ively exclaimed. Then the vines encircled the small uni-eye orb. This is fascinating. I have to say I am thoroughly impressed. The plant can see the orb? Stratos thought to himself, back on his planet, as he witnessed the vines wrapping around the orb. The intelligence of this plant is uncanny, Lena added. Something tells me this is just the beginning. Ively pondered. We'll have to rely on our time jump observations. I think we've done enough meddling with this planet already. Even though we meddled with it, Lena replied, saving this planet was totally worth it. I agree. Ively and Lena set the timecode frequency back to their present time and uploaded themselves into Citadel, and off they went. Stratos' eye feed suddenly went black and then switched to the old orb from his current timeline. Now the screen only showed a steamy bog of a planet in its early development. Stratos laid back. His heart was racing and his mind was filled with awe. He couldn't help but grin from ear to ear. All of a sudden, the universe opened up to him. It would one day be his playground. He raised his hand up to the sky and pretended to grab the cluster of stars above him. He closed his eyes. I can't wait. Chapter 3. New Plans. Uni stood at the central console in Old Citadel. The console emitted a 3D hologram. It was Ada, synchronizing all existing Uni-eyes, launching the beta Uni-brain. Uni launched a holographic network from his headset, showing all happenings in each location. Oh Lord, are you two back at it again? A voice remarked from 5 floors above. Uni looked up for a second and rolled his eyes. He shook his head in irritation. Oh, it's you again, Eleonora. Don't act like you're not glad to see me. How many other glamorous women are there on this wretched planet? She muttered, dragging her silk robes on the floor, her gold anklets tinkling as she walked around the hallway on the fifth floor. All this virtual reality, for the love of God, can you just send me some beautiful men for a change? Uni tilted his head to the side, listening to Eleonora in disgust. You do remember that your male slaves tried to kill you when they revolted, right? Psh, please, they love me, she said as she closed the door behind her. She's delirious, Uni mumbled as he shook his head. Ada remained silent. No one knew how she really felt about Eleonora, seeing as though Ada fought against her a few years ago to save her siblings. Uni thought for a second. Ada, I'd like to synchronize our brains. Uploading your mind, translating and synchronizing it with mine would significantly improve our developmental processes. Are you willing to live on Citadel's server? Ada asked. Not yet, Uni answered. I've seen what happens 200 years from now, and we were both on the Uni-I system as synchronized intelligences. This network allowed a consciousness called the Skyfather to travel through time and save the planet. It also allowed my descendants to make a defensive ionic attack and reprogram my ship for battle. As a defensive entity, it seems incomplete, Ada replied. Ionic power needs to be recharged. The other functions seem intermediary. That's right. Deep down, I feel the same way. I must have uploaded myself onto it as a last resort, Uni thought for a second, and then looked ahead at the holographic model of Ada. Ada, you just reminded me of something. For a minute there, I felt bound to stick to the formula I witnessed when I traveled to the future. But you've opened my eyes. I chose to ignore the fact that the system was flawed, simply because I thought that I could not go against the future. But I was wrong. The mere fact that my family and I won that war in the future means that the future can be changed. It's not our destiny. We can be better and do better than what was supposed to happen. He looked at Ada. His face gleamed with hope as he enthusiastically raised a clenched fist into the air. As of now, this is the new future. Chapter 4. Anxiety. Stratos grabbed onto his lightning rod for dear life as he struggled to gather enough energy to attack the colossal enemy fortress. Uni used 5 Uni orbs and a giant mechanized body to attack the invading armies. Thousands of drones attacked him as they descended to the planet from the giant fortress. The orbs rotated around him, shielding him from blasts. Where's the Skyfather, Stratos? Uni shouted as he battled hordes of enemy drones defending the planet. Something is wrong, Stratos shouted back as he gathered ionic energy from the air. We've probably changed the future, and now the Skyfather doesn't exist. The war wasn't supposed to happen for another 200 years, Uni shouted back. Maybe we won't need him, Stratos shouted as the clouds grew dark and lightning went wild, striking down the drones. What about that thing? Uni pointed to the massive fortress descending upon their planet. Stratos pointed his lightning rod at the colossal structure as bolts of lightning hit the surface of the fortress, doing small amounts of damage. I wish Father and Mother were still around. Coming close, Uni shouted. Stratos ran in as all of his orbs merged together into a massive sphere. The colossal fortress launched a bevy of missiles at the brothers. Uni, field absorption, Uni shouted as the orb launched an energized hexagonal force field around the two. Brace for impact, brother. The brothers held each other as they were blown away in an explosion of white energy. Stratos woke up breathing heavily. That was too real. He noticed blue ionic energy around him. He glanced over to his right, and a figure stood above him. The Sky Father. "You can enter my mind?" Stratos asked, his face filled with shock. "I am you, Stratos. I am your mind. But this is the last chance that I will have to talk to you." "What do you mean?" Stratos asked the being. "In the last time loop, you uploaded your mind into the server, and I was created. I am from that alternate time loop. I was using the Unii to materialize from the ions. But time is running out. The technology has changed in this time period, and I will no longer be able to access it for that reason. My connection to you has come to an end. In a short while, Uni will change his technology for something better, and you will meet your new destiny as well. I might still be able to access your memory, but I am not altogether sure. However, if you enter the plant of all-knowing, everything will be revealed to you." The plant of all-knowing? I have done my part. I can rest safely, knowing that the future is now secure. The being slowly disintegrated into the air as blue particles and disappeared. "The plant," Stratos said under his breath. "But which plant?" He sighed in frustration as he laid his head back onto the bedding. Soon his eyes closed and he was back to sleep. Chapter 5. News. Ivali and Lena returned to their bodies on planet E-203. "Have you seen the readings?" Lena asked. "Readings?" "Yeah, apparently a massive amount of data was downloaded to the orb back there on N-22. "Seriously?" Ivali scratched his head. "Yes, someone pretty much downloaded Citadel's entire archives. Everything was accessed." "Are you saying the plant?" "Ivali, it has to be." "What plant, Mother?" Stratos asked as he walked into the room. "Stratos, you'll never believe this." Ivali excitedly addressed his son. "What happened?" Lena replied from across the room. "Stratos, there was a plant on N-022 that could sense us. It was amazing." "Wait, are you talking about the viney plant that wrapped its limbs around the orb?" "You saw that?" Ivali inquired. "Yeah, it was awesome. I've never seen that type of plant before." "We're not sure what type of plant this one was," Lena added. "We have no classification for it." "We've made a major breakthrough here, son," Ivali commented. "Okay, so what were you guys talking about right before I got here?" "Son, there was a massive amount of data downloaded from the Citadel to that orb out there." "No, you're not saying..." "The plant can communicate to the server." "How much was accessed?" "Everything." Stratos' mouth dropped. He whispered, "The plant of all-knowing." "What was that, son?" "The Sky Father told me about such a plant. I'm supposed to be tied to it somehow." "All-knowing, huh?" Ivali repeated. Lena joined in. "The thing that bothers me is that when we left, we reset the time frequency code, meaning that it should no longer have access to the server from our timeline. Yet all this data was accessed and downloaded." Stratos agreed. "That's true. The live feed switched back as soon as you both left." They all looked at each other. "That means the plant must know the time codes for different timelines." Ivali and Lena turned to look at Stratos. "Huh?" "The plant of all-knowing." Stratos went back to his treehouse perch to think. "It's worth a shot," he thought as he put on the Uni headset. "Let's see if I can time code the broadcast feed on this." At first he adjusted the communication feed, for 6 hours ahead. Come on, come on. He impatiently waited. There's a slight difference, but it could be my imagination. Let's try another 6 hours. After the next 6-hour interval on the time code was added, Stratos noticed a major shift in the appearance of the feed. The time of day had changed. It worked. Now to go 1,500 years into the future. The feed ended. What happened? Stratos thought to himself. Then it hit him. Oh, that's right. They replaced the orb when they went back. Stratos switched the code to the updated orb. That's it. Stratos was now looking through the orb, tangled in the vines of the plant. Hello? Can you hear me? Stratos asked through the orb. The plant pulled the orb closer. It used vines to flail around, responding to Stratos' voice. Great. I don't see how I can actually communicate with it. Stratos took a moment and observed the plant. It seemed to be cautiously aware. This is probably just the beginning for this plant. Maybe it just needs time, Stratos thought. Hey there. Someone told me that I should seek out the plant of all-knowing. I heard that you downloaded the archives of Citadel's server. Although I could be wrong, I now believe that the being I'm looking for is you. I believe you will become very important to me and my world at some point, but I'm not sure when. I'm just a young omni-human, and I just want to do what it takes to protect my family and my planet. Deep down inside, I think you will understand that my intentions are good. At some point, I will call upon you for your wisdom, and I hope that you will find it in your heart to help me. Stratos paused for a moment. I'm not even sure if you can understand me at this point in time, but if you can, do what you must to become the person my planet needs. Stratos shut off the transmission and took off the headset. He laid back in his perch, and his mind began to wander. Over on planet N-022, the plant replayed Stratos' broadcast over and over again. As it did this, it studied the DNA and genetics of omni-humans. It looked over blueprints of synthetic humans and designer DNA. The plant continued to play the recording as days and months passed by. Then, small buds appeared along the vines of the plant. At the top of its stalk, a larger bud was formed. Over the course of the next 2 months, this bud became bigger and bigger until it was over 1 foot in height and 3/4 of a foot wide. Then the entire plant flowered. The tiny buds that ran along the vines surrounding the stalk burst open to reveal beautiful pink petals. Each of these flowers had stamen on them, making them male flowers. Then the massive bud at the top of the stalk finally opened in a huge pink petaled flower. The petals surrounded the massive ovary and pistil in the center of the flower. This was the female fruit-bearing flower of the plant, and its most dominant feature being far thicker than the actual stalk below it. This was the female fruit-bearing flower of the plant, and its most dominant feature being far thicker than the actual stalk below it. As soon as the flower was revealed, the plant got to work. The flowering vines that surrounded the plant whipped around the top of the stalk, showering the pistil of the massive flower with pollen. This continued for 1 week until every vine had exhausted its pollen. 1 week later, the ovary began to grow. The ovary of the massive flower swelled and swelled as the days dragged on. Week by week, the ovary became larger and larger until the weight of it forced the stem to bend, lowering it toward the ground. 2 months later, a large, throbbing fruit laid on the ground, still connected to the stem of the plant. Stratos checked in the next day and decided to jump 5 months into the future. "The plant is bearing," Stratos exclaimed. "I wonder what fruit that is. It's enormous." The plant responded to his voice by moving its vines toward the orb. "I can't wait to see what you are capable of," Stratos proudly exclaimed as he took off the headset and laid down to go to sleep. Chapter 6. Premonitions. "Stop, Stratos!" Uni shouted. "You'll kill everyone!" Stratos found himself in a trance and unable to move as his surroundings lit up in a massive surge of electric current. He could not move or reply. In his mind, he tried to react to his brother's cries, but he could not. Uni assembled a protective suit upon himself and a long spear. "Stratos, I have to stop you!" Stratos remained in a trance. He watched, unable to move, as his brother launched into the air and came down, stabbing him through the chest with the spear. Stratos jumped out of his bedding in a frenzied panic. He was breathing hard, trying to catch his breath. That was the second time he had a dream about dying in a battle. Why does this keep happening? Is it some sort of a premonition? Stratos glanced around his perch quickly. Skyfather? I don't see him. My last dream might have been induced by him. Maybe this one was too. Is he trying to tell me something? Suddenly, the headset on his floor started flashing. Is someone trying to contact me? Could it be Uni or the Skyfather? Stratos thought to himself. Hello? Stratos froze upon hearing a new, unfamiliar female voice. Hello? The voice repeated. Who is this? Stratos asked. Is this Ada? Ada, that's right. She was in the Citadel archives as an artificial intelligence entity. Stratos was startled. The archives? How did you get access to the archives? Are you on the server or an administrator? I'm using your orb to access the server. This was an already established network. Which orb? Enter this code. UNI-012-02-2380 UNI-20-06-N-022-4105-08-19-1025 N-022? No way. No way. Stratos froze in shock. The plant. He quickly input the codes into the headset. The screen went live. You're not a plant, the girl replied. But I am. I was designed by the plant based on the blueprints available on the server for synthetic designer DNA of omnihumans. Stratos stared at the teen, unable to talk. Her skin was an olive color with yellow markings. Her eyes were yellow-green, and she had vines filled with leaves growing out of her head. Long, deep pink, black and white dotted petals hung from her armpits and back, much like the wings of an omnihuman, and a yellow glow of energy surged through her body, revealing her pulmonary and circulatory system. What? She reluctantly asked. How did you get so... Is something wrong? It's just a far cry from the plant I once saw. Well, you said you needed help. Your speech made a big impression on the plant. She knew she was unable to communicate with you effectively, so she created me, Nebralia. Nebralia? Is there a problem? No, absolutely not. I just didn't know. I've named this planet and given myself its name, Nebralia stated. It's beautiful. Nebralia paused for a second. I feel pride and satisfaction that you find beauty in my name. Nebralia, there are so many things I want to know about you. I am still learning about myself as we speak. I am still attached to the plan of all knowing. I will do my best to know all things. No pressure. Take your time. I feel a bit selfish now, expecting so much from you. Nebralia replied, if it wasn't for your expectations, I would not have even been conceived. The two teens shared an awkward silence that seemed to last for half a minute. Nebralia broke the silence. I will study to the best of my capacity and try to live up to being the plant of all knowing. Stratos replied, perfect. I will also work with my family on keeping things secure in the meantime. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye, Nebralia. Stratos took off the headset and laid back on his bedding. His heart was beating so fast that he held his chest. She's amazing, he said under his breath as his heart pounded. Back on N-022, Nebralia studied the Citadel archives from her present time, 1500 years into the future, working back through the archives. The War of 2577. This is 200 years ahead of their current time. This being, the Skyfather, Nebralia searched through the archives to find the first mention of the Skyfather's occurrence. This doesn't make sense. Why is there no mention of Stratos, Uni, or even Ivali and Lena during any occurrence of the Skyfather? I can't even find them on the server. Stratos spent the following day working with Uni on new tech. Uni looked over at his brother. You've really been eating up all of this programming, little brother. I just want to make sure I'm ready for anything that happens, Uni. Uni walked over and hugged him. I'm sure you are. You're already the hero the future needs. Stratos looked up at his older brother. Tears welled up in his eyes. Take the rest of the day off, brother. As a matter of fact, I'm working on a bit of a surprise for you, Uni stated. A surprise? Yeah, that's right. When was the last time you spoke with your future consciousness? The Skyfather? He said he could no longer contact me. He said you changed the technology of the future. Oh, really now? Well, he's right. Ada and I are totally revamping Project Uni-I. We're going to make something better. It's not about my tech competing with Citadel any longer. That was the vision of a naive boy. The future is about making Citadel better. It's about using Citadel directly to defend the planet. You're giving up your eye units? Well, little brother, they were never really completed. But that doesn't mean they won't have their uses. Ada has talked some sense into me, and I've decided to become an administrator on Citadel. Brother, this is huge. I will carry on the legacy of father and mother and spread Citadel to other planets. Then I will too, Stratos replied. Stratos, are you sure? Yes, I will also follow father's legacy. Uni grabbed his younger teen brother to his chest. Dad is going to be overjoyed to hear this. Stratos hugged his brother's back. We will work together from now on. Let's tell Dad and Mom tomorrow. Why tomorrow? Stratos asked, confused. Isn't that rushing things a little bit? Because, my little brother. Uni put his right hand on Stratos' left shoulder. Tomorrow, I will upload my mind into Citadel. What? Stratos' mouth dropped. Are you... are you sure? Yup, I've been talking with Ada, and I've decided to join her on the server. This changes everything, brother. I still have to wait 5 years. Don't worry, brother. I'll create a synthetic body like Dad's. It'll be like nothing has changed. Stratos hugged his brother. Good. Stratos headed home to his tree perch. He laid back onto his bedding. The future, he sighed to himself. We'll be okay. I know we will. Just then, Stratos' headset lit up. Stratos reached over and put it on. Hello? Stratos? Nebralia. Stratos, I can't seem to figure something out. What is it? I don't understand why I can't find you or your family in the archives after this date. That's weird. Oh yeah, that's right. The Skyfather said that my parents chose to archive themselves and remain inactive on the server. Really? And you're okay with that? Well, I just kind of thought that it was an alternate future, so I didn't think my parents would be ready to do that in my current timeline. Well, what about Uni? She asked. Oh, Uni told me that he was uploaded onto his eye system as a safety measure for the planet's defense. But Stratos, you're not on the server either. I'm not. There was never an entry for you in the server. But the Skyfather told me that he was created after I chose to upload myself on the server and use him as my consciousness. I see. What's wrong? How much do you trust this Skyfather? Trust? What do you mean? He's my future self, isn't he? What was the last thing he told you? He said my future has been changed, and that he wouldn't be able to visit my timeline anymore. It's probably because Uni is going to give up using the eye system. What? Yeah, Uni is going to surprise Mom and Dad with his announcement tomorrow. Tomorrow? Yeah, he's going to be uploaded tomorrow. He's a worthy candidate for administrator. I think he'll become one right away, just like Dad. Stratos, I'd like to be there with you when this happens tomorrow. Stratos' eyes lit up. He sat right up in his bedding. Yes, I mean, you're welcome to come. Are you sure it won't be strange for your family? No, they love meeting new people. Stratos paused and collected himself. Nebralia, I would like for you to come more than anything in the world. Nebralia paused. What's wrong? I made this decision without knowing my capability, without my connection to my plant mother. Well, what do you need? I guess I have relied on the plant for recovery, energy, and nutrients. I have those things, trust me. What could possibly give you more energy than ions? Nebralia giggled. I've never heard you laugh before. I never had, she thought out loud. Stratos reluctantly confirmed. So, I'll see you tomorrow then? Yes, you will, Nebralia answered. Stratos took off his headset and jumped up and down. I can't believe this, he shouted. Nebralia is coming here tomorrow. He stopped jumping and tried to calm himself down. Okay, this is happening. I can help her. Energy, no problem. I have my lightning rod and my gauntlets. Stratos dropped back down onto his bedding. His heart was beating out of his chest. How am I going to sleep tonight? He thought out loud, looking at his ceiling. This is going to be the longest night of my life. Chapter 7. Stratos and Nebralia. Nebralia used her connection to the Citadel server to activate the portal to planet E-203. She inputted the time code to arrive 1500 years into the past. Stratos' current timeline. Reluctantly, she turned to look at the plant she'd been attached to her entire 15 years of life. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out, Mother, but the future of their planet depends on me. With that, Nebralia unplugged the umbilical cord that attached to her plant mother, and off she went. Stratos grabbed his uni headset. I'll need this just in case she tries to contact me. Stratos put on his gauntlets and grabbed his lightning rod and threw it on his back. What's all that for? Stratos stopped in shock. Nebralia stood in the doorway of his tree perch. Nebralia? Stratos exclaimed in shock. How did you know? Oh, you know, I'm just the plant that knows all, she joked, doing a mock curtsy. It's in the long code of your transmission. Oh, Stratos replied in a sigh of relief. Then the two teens had a short laugh. So, are you ready? Nebralia asked. Ready for what? Stratos was completely distracted by Nebralia's presence and had temporarily drawn a blank. Nebralia raised her eyebrows and pointed at his glove and lightning rod. Oh, right, Stratos exclaimed. Yeah, I just grabbed these things on the way out. This is to provide you with more ions for energy. Oh, okay. She walked over to Stratos and touched the lightning rod that peeked out from behind his shoulder with her index finger of her right hand. Okay, let's go. Stratos took a second to stare at her. He wanted to remember this moment forever. She grabbed Stratos' left arm with both hands. Come on, you don't want to be late, she pleaded. Stratos allowed her to pull him towards the exit. After you. Nebralia raised her arms, spreading her petal-shaped wings out, and glided down from the perch. Stratos stared in amazement. Wow. It's your turn, Nebralia shouted from below. Stratos raised his arms, spreading his wings, and then followed with a glide of his own. He then free fell 7 feet above the ground, landing with a graceful but powerful impact. Strong, Nebralia commented, tapping his chest. Am I interrupting something? A voice asked from 20 feet away. Uni! Stratos exclaimed. This is Nebralia. Nebralia simply smiled and gave a slight bow. Nebralia, huh? Nice to meet you. I've never seen an omni-human type like you before. And who is this? Lena asked as she approached from 15 feet away. Mom, Nebralia, I'm a plant-based omni-human from N-022. No way. Lena turned to look over her shoulder toward the approaching Ively. Ively, can you believe this? Ively approached Lena and stood by her side. It's a pleasure to meet you, Nebralia. Likewise, she replied with a short curtsy. Uni walked over to his parents, Ively and Lena. Father, mother, there is something I'd like to tell you both. Something tells me this is going to be a shocker, Ively commented. Uni gathered his composure and placed his right hand on his father's left shoulder. Dad, I've decided to follow in your footsteps and upload myself onto the Citadel server. Ively and Lena both responded in unison. What? Yes, I realize that this seems contradictory to my stance on being an innovator and creating my own server. However, Pops, Citadel can really be the stronghold of our future. After talking to Ada, I've realized that my own future technology was flawed and incomplete. I'm not saying that I won't develop my own technology in the future, but I can make Citadel greater than it already is. Also, I'll be able to interface with Ada much easier. Ivali and Lena turned to look at each other. They smiled. It's your decision, son. You are 19 now, more than able to choose what you want to do with your life. Thank you, Dad. Uni ran up and hugged his father. So when does this happen, Uni? Lena asked her son. Shortly, I wanted you guys to come with me. A uni orb ascended from behind Uni. Stratos grabbed his rod and placed it on the ground before him. Stratos? Nebralia asked. I'm sorry, Uni. I can't let you do this. Uni looked over in horror. Stratos? Oh no. Stratos stood fixed in a stance. He had become possessed by the Sky Father. This is where I must be born. I am sorry, but I cannot allow the future to change. I am necessary for the future of this planet. Sky Father, Ivali shouted. Blue ionic particles fizzed around Stratos as he began to charge up. The clouds parted and bolts of lightning struck at Stratos' hammer rod. Just as I thought. This is why you all don't exist in the archives after this date. Nebralia looked over at Stratos. Goodbye, Stratos. Find me again through time. Nebralia stood behind Stratos and began rooting herself all around him. She then began growing around him as fast as she could. Then a bright blue beam of light hit Stratos' area. Nebralia absorbed the blast, growing into a tremendous flowering tree. As the dust settled, Uni, Ivali, and Lena rushed toward the giant tree. Stratos! Lena shouted as she ran to the unconscious body of her son lying face down inside of the tree. Stratos! She shook him and turned him over. Thank goodness, he's breathing, she shouted as Ivali came over to her. Ivali reached down and picked up his son. We'll need to do tests on him to see if he has any permanent damage. Dad, he's going to be all right? Uni asked in concern. I'll do my best, son, Ivali reassured his son. Lena looked up towards the top of the massive tree. Nebralia, thank you. She placed her hand onto the tree and shed a tear. She was brave. She came here to save us all, Uni stated. This isn't the end for them, Ivali commented. If Stratos recovers from this, he can always go forward into the future and meet her again. Lena walked over and placed her hand on Ivali. He will. Chapter 8. Hope. Over on planet N-022, a recovered Stratos walked the planet. This is you, isn't it? He stopped to speak to a viney plant. The vines of the plant whipped around and touched him. I'm not supposed to interfere with the development of your planet, but in your near future, you made someone very special to me, and I just wanted to thank you for that. She gave her life to save me and my family. I'll never be able to repay her for what she did, but the least I could do was to come here and show you my appreciation. Stratos took a moment to look around. It really is amazing, isn't it? He then turned around and went through the coded portal. Upon returning to his timeline on planet E-203, Stratos stopped to pay a visit to the tree that saved his life. He sat down for a minute and just gazed up at its beauty. Well, she's a looker, isn't she? Uni? Uni crouched down next to Stratos. You never know what to expect with nature, huh? Stratos just kept looking at the tree in sadness. Stratos, I think you should head to your perch. What for? Something tells me there is someone waiting to talk to you through your headset. No. Stratos jumped to his feet. She called? Oh, I can't tell you that. I'd ruin the surprise. You're the best big brother. Stratos ran off and flew up to his perch. He turned towards the left, expecting to see his headset hanging on the wall. My headset? Looking for this? A voice replied. Stratos froze in his tracks. The voice came from behind him. He stayed absolutely still. His voice quivered when he said, I'm afraid that if I turn around, you might not be there. There was 30 seconds of silence. Then the voice asked, What is amazing? Stratos responded, What do you mean? I was wearing your headset over here when I heard you ask my mother the question. It's amazing, isn't it? What did you mean? Stratos paused for a minute. Vibrations. Sounds are vibrational frequencies. I'm not sure if your mother understood every word of my broadcast, but she must have felt my sincerity through the sound of my voice. Somehow, I inspired her. Somehow she understood. And then amazingly, Stratos stopped speaking as he felt her walk up behind him. She lifted her arms over his neck and crossed them around his chest, touching his shoulders. She rested her chin just to the right of his head and asked in a soft voice, Amazingly? Stratos' voice broke as he replied, barely louder than a whisper. And then, amazingly, he paused again, trying not to let his voice crack. You appeared. Thank you for listening to Citadel Society, Song of Stratos. I hope you've enjoyed my series. Please stay tuned and like and subscribe for more content. Thank you.